Council, July 13th, 2026. At 7:13 p.m. at 80 South Superior Street, Cambridge, Idaho. Maybe we could begin with the Pledge of Allegiance. Hayden, could you lead us in that, please? Yes.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Can I have a roll call vote, please? A roll call. Sorry.
Councilmember Bull.
Present.
Councilmember Harrison.
Councilmember Harrison, are you here?
Here.
Councilmember Powell.
Here.
Mayor Loveland.
Here. You have the consent agenda before you.
I move to approve the current agenda.
I second it.
It's been moved and seconded that we approve the consent agenda. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Item 2, Robert, you're first up. ECO Engineers Report, Transportation, Streets, Roads, Water Systems, and Wastewater Systems.
Good evening, Mayor and Council. For the status report for July 13th of this year, I got updates on the transportation, streets, and roads. Item A, LRIP, numbers 22 and 23. For item number 22, we coordinated with the contractor and received the remaining or pending density and core tests required for the construction docks, and all were successful and passed. And based on that, we received at the time the payment application number 1. So we submitted it and signed it with our recommendation for approval. Item number 23, because everything was passing, the substantial completion form was signed and sent to the contractor. And that's all I have for you, Mayor and Council, for the status report.
Okay, do we have any questions?
One thing I'd like to add, and Robert's given the report earlier on the funding that we had applied for through DEQ on both water and wastewater, and that we didn't make the cutoff line. Well, I didn't officially get the letter from DEQ until one Friday night, one Saturday. The one that was sent Friday night was addressed to Mayor Spencer of the city of Boswell.
I saw that.
Bancroft. Yeah.
That's where my relatives come
So
from.
I've asked him if that's really us or not. The other one did have your name on it. So, and I think Robert reported before that we didn't make the funding cut for either of those. One, we were fairly close, and the other, we weren't that close. But one thing I wanted to mention on the letter that was sent, it says, it says, however, it is possible that entities that are on the fundable portion of our list may not be ready to proceed with the timeframes provided, and your project could potentially still be funded. If this occurs, you may be offered funding as we work our way down the list to communities that are ready to proceed. With that in mind, please be prepared to meet short timeframes and ensure that the facility plans are approved and ability to incur debt has been received. So we're fairly close to the funding threshold, I believe, on the wastewater, on the clean water. 23 or something, is that right? Yeah. And I don't know that we were close enough to get funded, but we may be. And then we're further away on the water. But one thing that has never been brought to our attention, that it says that we need to be prepared to incur debt that has been received. And we haven't. On the water, we've gone out for a bond before, and it was turned down several years ago. We haven't relooked at that, and the same we've talked about our new sewer project and stuff, but we haven't gone out for bonding. So So I don't know if that's something the council needs to consider, just because we're getting closer to the top or not.
Correct, yeah.
Do other cities usually have their bonds in place, waiting for that funding? We've never used the DEQ funding before because we've got better funding other places, but.
I know a lot of cities talk to their bond attorney or their attorneys on that part, but that's what we've seen them do in the past with similar projects for water and wastewater.
Because on our previous one, we didn't, go out for bond until after we knew what the funding would be.
Correct.
So I didn't know if we needed to start the process according to this letter, maybe a little sooner.
Yeah. I would check with the attorney on whatever situation you guys are as far as a bond.
Well, we use a different bond attorney
Okay.
than our city attorney. The bond attorney is out of Boise.
Okay.
Stephanie Bonney is who we've used in the past. She's kind of the guru of bonds in Idaho. Anyway, the council might want to think about that.
Thanks for letting me know about that.
Okay. Thank you, Robert.
Mayor.
Item 3, Blue Cross of Idaho Foundation for Health presented the Community Health Champion Award to the City of Cambridge, Idaho. You want to expand on that?
Well, that's you and your trophies right there.
Yeah, there's the trophy we won. And they said the check was in the mail.
You know how that goes. We
Yeah.
haven't received it yet.
Anyway,
You can tell them about that, where you went and whatever.
okay, AIC had their annual meeting down at the Grove. And so one evening during my family reunion, I drove from McCall down to the city, or down to the Grove, and they had this awards ceremony. And it was all the awards that all the different cities over the state have won. There was a lot of awards presented. Just cities that are doing things, that are making things happen and being innovative and trying to make things happen where funding's not available and stuff. And so there was the AIC awarded a lot of cities a lot of special awards for things that they had done in the event of the environment that we live in financially. And so it was pretty interesting to sit there and watch. I sat there with the mayor of McCall and had a nice conversation with him. And anyway, it was a good event. And I was number 1 on the docket, the first award given. And so I could have just packed my bags and left, but instead I elected to stay and watch all the other awards be given. So it was a lot of fun. A lot of fun. How you doing, Levi? Okay, item 4, accept resignation of Councilmember Delray Platt. We received this letter June 22nd, addressed to Mayor Mark Loveland, Cambridge City Council. Dear colleagues, I hereby submit my resignation to the Cambridge City Council effective immediately. So as of June 22nd, he had resigned. We want to thank him for his service, and we have a certificate for him, and I will take that over to him and present it to him. So anyway, just so you're aware of that.
Do we know? I mean, not that.
We need
That's
to
an
make a
action item.
motion and accept that resolution.
Oh, okay.
I make a motion to accept the resignation of Councilmember Delray Platt.
Second.
It's been moved and seconded that we accept the resignation of Delray Platt. All in favor?
Is that aye?
I think that was aye. Any opposed? Motion carries. Item 5, mayoral appointment of vacant city council member position. Yeah, I can hear you. Okay. As mayor of the city of Cambridge, I've taken the opportunity to appoint Chris Fry as a new city council member. And we need a motion to accept that.
I'll make that motion to accept Chris Fry.
Okay,
Second.
it's been moved and seconded that we accept Chris Fry on the Cambridge City Council. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Thank you, Chris Fry.
About time.
Chris Fry just seemed like an appropriate kind of person to be on our city council. He's been in Cambridge all his life. He knows what Cambridge is all about. He knows what our goals are, and what we believe in. And so I think he was a good selection to be on our board. Item 6, Hardin Sanitation request for solid waste rate adjustment. Down 3%.
So before we get started on this, I do have to cite an interest of conflict in this topic since my husband is an employee of
Okay.
Hardin Sanitation, so I will step down from this part of the meeting.
Okay. Levi Taylor has stepped away from the table because there's a conflict of interest with her with the Hardin Sanitation request for any rate adjustment.
Yeah, thank you, Mayor, Council, Travis Williams, Public Sanitation. Here just to request a 3% price increase on, across all lines of business for, City of Cambridge. And that equates to about 61 cents increase per month, for residents, for the most frequently utilized services as a residential, trash cans. It'll take effect August 1st, 2026. Current CPI is 3.5. We're just asking for 3%, trying to keep it as minimal as possible. I know everybody's getting hit with increases everywhere, so trying to keep it as minimal as possible. And I'm just here to answer any questions you have.
Over the years, we've had increases over the years. Things are more expensive. A lot of times when you guys have come, you've talked about replacing trucks and all that kind of stuff and the expense that's involved there, and I get it. I just wonder, when do we get to see one of those new trucks up here?
Yeah, that's
Because there's a lot of broke down trucks around.
I know that's been our biggest fight. We did get a new truck this year. That one has been elected other places, so we're getting the truck that we replaced that one with to come up here.
So what you're saying is there more important people than us?
I would not say that. I would say you guys are just as important as anybody else. But there are some other familiar routes in Cambridge. The problem we deal with up here is there's not a lot of volume.
Well, I understand there's not a lot of volume, but there's a lot of mileage. And that's was kind of my concern. If there's a lot of mileage, we need a truck that's in good repair. And I know you can't anticipate when one's going to break down, but it just seems like over the last year, we've had a lot of broken down trucks up here.
Yeah.
And I know they come in here and they go clear into the canyon and they come out, and I know they put on a ton of miles, but.
We did get a new truck. So
Okay.
hopefully, you will see that around town.
Okay. Anyway, we have a request for a 3% CPI. Maybe you could, our new council members don't maybe not understand what a CPI is. Could you?
Yeah, so CPI is kind of the costs of goods and services minus fuel. Fuel's not factored into it. It's kind of a different category. So CPI covers anything related, whether it's the equipment for our trucks, the maintenance, repairs, and that sort of thing. So the 3.5% is what the national average is right now for this region, and so that's kind of what they figure is inflation is it's 3.5% higher than it was last year, and so we're just asking for 3% to stay under that 3.5%.
So if we had more garbage, we could get a new truck?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah.
Okay, just asking.
Can you explain to me how this is connected to the city and it's our business as the city council to decide? I guess.
Yeah.
I mean, you're a private company. Are you like contracted by the city? Okay.
Yeah, we have a franchise agreement with the city of Cambridge so that we can be the only ones to service the area. So any rate increases have to be approved by the city.
Gotcha. And when was the last rate increase?
2024, we signed a new agreement in 2024, so we didn't do an increase last year.
Okay.
And the people in the city get a lower rate because we have a franchise compared to like those in the county. So there is a discount for having a franchise.
I'm the only one who can do something here, but is this, I mean, this is pretty normal business? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay. Mainly what I'm looking for, so. Let me find the line here so I can say it right. I move to approve the hardened sanitation request for solid waste rate adjustment, CPI 3%.
Levi,
Yeah,
can you hear what's going on?
I just heard something about a request.
Yeah, a request for 3% rate increase for hardened sanitation for the city's garbage removal, and Hayden has made a motion to accept that increase.
Okay, second.
Okay, it's been moved and seconded. All in favor? Are there any opposed? Motion carries.
Is that enough votes? You don't have
Call Chris.
I'm not sure because she recused herself that goes and changes that.
She's here, but she recused herself, so the two remaining members voted in favor.
Haven't had that happen for a long time.
Maybe I get a vote.
Yeah, you
You're the
wish.
tiebreaker.
Get Reese on the phone.
I have cheat sheets on just about everything else. Why don't we go to the America 250 report, and I will go do some investigation.
Okay, sounds great. We'll put that on hold for a minute. Okay, item 9, America 250 Cambridge report, free 4th of July breakfast, walking challenge, volunteer challenge. Randy, do you want to address us on that?
Yeah, I think all in all, it was a really well-attended breakfast. I think we probably served about 240 people from the plate count. And it was really well received, and people asked if we were planning on making this an annual event. And yeah, I mean, everybody that volunteered showed up, did their part. I thought it went seamlessly, and I thought it was beautiful. I thought the decorations were fabulous. Yeah, the presentation, it just all came together quite lovely. I don't know, how do you feel about it?
I thought it was awesome.
Yeah.
I thought it was incredible, all the people that came, all the people that remained.
Yeah.
I mean, they had breakfast and they just hung out to our whole thing and enjoyed one another's company. I mean, that's what it was all about, was to bring our community together. So, yeah, I was,
Yeah, that's open in there. They're on the wall when you walk in Rory's office. Yeah.
We just got back from DC, and at Nationals she
Okay.
placed 5th.
I can show you in the morning.
Competition. So that was huge. She got to be in the top 10.
Okay.
She walked to the stage at the top 10, which is like a huge.
All right,
award
working.
in the SCCL award. So
yeah.
her competition she did quite far this year. So that was very exciting. She was very proud of it. So I'm thankful that the city really supported that
for those, I mean, you weren't able to be there. Of course, Robert, you didn't know what was going on either, but the city had a 250-mile walking challenge for this birthday, the 250th birthday. And we had 121 participants in our town that were involved, and we had 72 that made it. And the gal that totally blew everybody's doors off was in her mid to late 70s, and she walked 977 miles.
She's still walking too.
Yeah, and she's still walking. But she just so much for 250 miles. She left that behind after the first week. So that was great.
I do think that's something we'll need to entertain, as a community in the future. My suggestion would be that maybe we partner with other organizations so that we can buy locally. It was really hard to buy groceries down in the valley and, prepare for all that and then have the incidentals and not be able to buy them.
Oh,
So that would be my suggestion, if that's a community thing we want to do, maybe visit with a commercial club or another organization. Because we will have to find funding for it also.
I guess we really stepped outside the box by doing it because we normally stay away from the 4th of July because Midvale has a big thing down there and council has a big thing up there. And I wonder, are there breakfasts there?
So council does have a breakfast, Midville does not. So our event went hand in hand. People actually were leaving our event and going down to the parade and then having lunch down there. So I think that flow was quite seamless.
Okay,
And I heard really positive thing. I didn't hear there was any interference.
so we didn't step on anybody's toes and.
I don't believe we did. So I think it's something to consider, but we also will need to find funding for it too.
Yeah. What do you figure we spent?
I do not have numbers for you. I was supposed to have that today, but I did not. So I will have next meeting what we spent and what we raised so that we know.
Yeah.
Because we got the $2,500 grant and we also got another $250 donation, as well.
Okay.
I think we actually did spend all of it, but I will give you exact numbers next meeting.
Okay. Did you have to crack all the eggs?
Yes.
That was
Yes, we-
awful. I still feel real bad about that.
No, that's okay. I wrote my sister-in-law in with it, so
Oh.
we got it done.
I say I got an
I signed up
8-year-old
for a
that
different
loves cracking
donation
eggs.
by
And how many eggs did you crack?
360.
Okay.
We have a machine in there.
Yeah.
We got them there though.
That's
Thank
good.
goodness.
That's good.
Okay. What I get under recusal, when a council member voluntarily steps aside from a vote or deliberation, it is a procedural matter. It does not automatically remove them from the count for quorum purposes. In most municipal contexts, a recusal is a matter of voting rights or participation in the deliberations, not a membership eligibility. The member remains part of a full council for quorum calculations unless otherwise disqualified by resignation, removal, or absence from the council's composition.
So we're good.
So she
She
doesn't need to vote.
She doesn't need to vote,
Okay.
and, but we still have a quorum, and she just stepped aside because of the issue,
And I don't get a
from what
vote.
I'm understanding.
Okay. Perfect. Okay, let's bring this thing back to life and get after it. Okay, item 7, Central Business District Code Discussion. Last month, me and the city staff had a meeting with the Central Business District. I'm not sure if all of you were aware of that. The Central Business District goes from the museum and Buc-ee's down to the Saddle Rack and the coffee, Raindrop Coffee. And so we had a meeting so we could get their thoughts, their feelings on that special section of town, because the buildings all together, the walls, share walls and all that kind of stuff. and how we wanted that to look different than the rest of town. And we've talked about on our report that we're doing, comprehensive plan, making special rules for that section. And so I thought it would be best if we addressed the owners of businesses down there and anybody who has anything to do with the central business district to get their feelings. You've probably received the letters of how people feel about certain things. And so that's just something that you need to soak up and absorb as we try to make ordinances and policies for this central business district. So that was more of an information for you guys.
One thing about it on the letters, when I put it in your packets on Glenn Karsten's, only one page scanned. So later this afternoon after I talked with Taylor, I rescanned it, and so you should have another email with the full letter, but I printed out all the letters so that you would have all of the ones that were received. And as far as the meeting, it was an open meeting, so there were some other people that came that weren't a central business district owner, just a very few other business owners that came because they had heard about it and were involved and stuff too. So there were a few, they were mainly business owners. At that meeting, no one wanted to talk too much about it because they were afraid to offend their neighbors. And so that's why they asked if they could write letters. And that's why we received letters. And I expected to receive one more letter today, but I didn't get it yet. But I don't know what the mayor plans for directions, where we need to go from here, since that's the only communication we have. Someone suggested that a committee be formed, with some different people to try to come up with it.
My feeling was we had the committee here. They all had the opportunity to speak. Nobody wanted to throw the neighbor under the bus, and I can appreciate that. But we wanted them to participate by writing a letter, so they were all given the assignment to write a letter on how they feel about the district. And so those are the letters we've gotten. There are certain businesses that weren't here, certain businesses that have not participated in that. But anyway, it's just mainly information for you to know how your constituents feel about the central business district as we go forward with our plans.
Well, the comp plan isn't going to be addressing that completely. It's actually code. So the staff needs direction on how we want to proceed on code. Because in the comp plan, there may be a definition, but that's all.
Yeah.
Okay.
So far as like, if we're going to allow an RV to be parked for an extended amount of time.
Right.
In the business
Yeah,
district.
all those different things. The last few meetings, we'd kind of talked about there were lots of different areas we might need to look at code at. And
So I guess my question would be to you two that are here, well, Levi also, do you feel like we need to put a committee together to discuss this further, to get more direction? Or do you feel like we've got the information, it seems pretty plain in the letters we received, or what's your feeling?
I don't think we need to have a committee on it. I feel like the letters, fairly well explain what overall consensus is, and like you said, we did have a meeting for them to express any concerns or voice their opinions to be heard of what could potentially affect their business.
Yeah, how many constituents comprise the commercial business district? We got 2 letters.
no, we got,
One of them was a combination of business
well,
owners.
one
wasn't
from
it?
Jen Van Meer, one from Glenn Karsten, one from Blake and Warren's that was kind of combined with bullet points. I heard that I was getting another one from Megan today, but I haven't received it. And I think that's all.
And the last one was just a comment.
Oh, yeah, and then the survey, it was those comments we asked them and they had put them in the survey. So the survey comment is actually from the Central Business District meeting.
I guess I didn't see a name attached to that one, so.
There wasn't except in the file
Been
name.
redacted.
A lot of them wanted to be anonymous.
Well, that was just copied and pasted from the survey, so there would be no name. But,
We can assume.
well, and they told us that they had put their comments in the survey.
Do we know, I don't know if it matters, but, I mean, how big is that group, the commercial business district?
Yeah.
No, it's just everybody that's,
3, 4, 5 on one side.
And that's another thing I'd like to ask.
7, so 12.
Ask the council is, why we're relooking at everything. I mean, that's always what we put as the Central Business District, but do we need to expand the Central Business District? If we look at the next block down where CTC is, you've got all, businesses there except one house, Levi's, and he's really a business in some ways. So, that could be considered. It doesn't have common walls like the other ones do, but it doesn't have to have common walls. I don't know whether you want it under the same rules or not, or even, from Hopper down to Washington. There's a couple residences over here, but the rest of it is basically businesses.
Yeah.
So that's something that
some would
you may want to consider or not.
Also remember going north on Superior is also from Central up is on the northeast side is the overlay district as well. We have,
Yeah.
so.
And doesn't the commercial district also include the backside of First Street, the backside to the main?
No, not the Central Business
Not
District.
that- oh,
just to the alley.
Just, that's regular C2 commercial.
Okay.
So what would the advantage be in extending or?
It just depends what you're trying to do, for its historical purposes, or for business purposes, or to
Would it,
maintain a certain business feel and identity.
Yeah, how uniform you want it to be, or, all through town, or just the section, or,
would it affect any residents that are on, the opposite side of the street if we bring it down more?
Well, you should still have residential uses. They would only have to go by that if they were a business as far as the frontage would be, but they'd probably be grandfathered in until the use changed to a commercial use.
Yeah. If there's a residence and you guys want to extend the Central Business District into an area where there's a residence, as long as that stays a residence, they're grandfathered in. But if they want to change it to a business, then that would cause a lot of headache for me. Saying.
Well, then they would have to go by the new, whatever code that was, if they changed their use.
anyway, it's just everything that we could consider.
Okay.
But I didn't know if you want staff to take the input from that and try to start putting some codes together. If you guys want to start trying to put some codes together, if you want to just have a meeting about it or on the next city council and talk more about it, or
Yeah.
I think the next meeting, we could have everybody here and it'd be a little better conversation.
Yeah, I agree. There needs to be conversation. I am a little confused by, I know these are just obviously people's personal opinions. And the last one, obviously, it's heavily opinionated. But one of the ones was obviously how we have somebody who's not in the business district who kind of has a year-round yard sale.
Mm-hmm. And actually, I had a conversation with the property owner on Friday, and they have plans already to get something constructed in the back. They have hired someone hopefully this fall, and so hopefully all of that stuff in the front's gonna go away.
Okay, I guess my question is I know that there are laws against how many consecutive weekends you can have a yard sale.
We don't have a yard sale ordinance.
So there's nothing that would necessarily affect him, but
And it's commercial property.
yeah, he has commercial.
Yes, he has commercial
It's
property.
commercial.
But we don't have a rule about what's out front or what's behind or beside, or
Okay.
we don't have a, you know.
So he,
But it sounds like he's voluntarily gonna make it better, so.
I was just curious if I thought he was not in the business district.
No, so, well,
He's not.
there's the difference.
But he's in the
Okay.
commercial zone.
Okay.
So there's, the central business district is just both sides of 95. Well, if you look on the map over there, the two purple zones,
Yeah.
that's the central business district. Everything else that's red is commercial C2.
Okay.
This is
So-
business district, all of this is commercial.
Yeah.
So that's the C2. Okay.
Yeah.
That's what I was curious about when I looked at their old ordinance for this. I was curious what classified as C2.
Yeah.
Okay.
So,
What was the conversation with him like?
Very good, very positive. I don't know, when I walked away.
What did you say to him?
What did I say? Well, first I went and said that, well, I'm officially here for one item, and I talked to him about that there were things in the sidewalk, and I'd had complaints about that, and it's not ADA compliant for us and stuff, because we've had complaints in the central business district too. And he said, oh yeah, sometimes my toys roll down there, I forget and put something there and I shouldn't. I'll make sure everything's back behind the line, type of thing. And I said, well, unofficially I'm here because I just kind of wanted to give you a heads up that the city has had some complaints about the tarps and things being out front and things not, you know, being kind of unsightly. And he said, then that's when he told me what his plan was. And he had hoped to do it this spring, but his daughter and grandkids had needed some help and he was gone a lot and didn't get it done and had hoped to get that. And he told me a contractor's name. I wasn't familiar with the contractor, but
Gotcha.
he seemed real positive about it.
That's good when they don't just get fighting mad.
Yeah. Well, yeah, he's a nice guy. So, it would kind of make sense to me if the people who are part of the central business district came together, figured out what criteria they wanted to put forward, and then voted on it. Are they organized enough to do that?
no.
We already asked them to. And
Yeah.
they wouldn't talk.
They wouldn't do it,
Then I don't see why.
so it falls on your shoulders.
Yeah, I don't think that's a decision for me to make yet. I think there needs to be a little organization there.
As far as what?
Because I want to know what the representation is there. If there's a group of people and a few of them are complaining and not everybody's going to step forward and have an opinion, or they're not going to get organized enough to tell me what they want as a majority, I don't want to make a decision on that.
Do you
I'm
have to,
trying-
like, from these comments that there's not a majority in there?
Well,
The meeting we had a majority of the central business district owners here. I would,
Room was
They
full.
refuse to say anything.
right. And,
And that's
They don't
what,
wanna, offend anybody.
right.
well,
Yeah, I understand that. I understand that. You go ahead.
I completely understand where you're coming from. I do. Like,
Yeah.
I mean, they don't want to hurt anybody else's feelings in their presence, but they'll do it behind their back. That's how I see it.
But there
Put
was,
staff in a hard spot though.
Yeah.
Because we get complaints in here and people want us to do something about it. But by ordinance, there is nothing that we can do about it. And so there is a conversation happening. And so from a staff standpoint, it puts us in a really hard spot because how do you deal with it?
well, and it's, part of it is because we've implemented some new rules because of housing, and we've changed code and uses in the central business district to allow it easier to have housing. And there's some complications coming from that maybe we haven't looked at or expected. We don't have code in place for it. I mean, we've never had so many people living in the central business district. I mean, just like we're considering basements and we hadn't before, but before you had to be the owner of the business or the person running the business to be able to live there and stuff. But we've never had people that have had, vehicles and parking issues and stuff that we've had, or things to the sides of their businesses, or RVs, or dog issues, or all of those types of things that we're dealing with now, animals.
Would I be wrong to assume that this is directed in particular to one business?
No.
No, but we have one that has probably the most complaints.
I'm sorry, I have to interject something there because the way that you're articulating the parking and the dogs and all this, that, and the other sounds like that the central business district is the only place that we have those issues. When that's not the case. We've had problems with RVs and dogs and parking all throughout town. So it's not isolated to one block central business district. It's just because that district is confined to those two sides of the street and it's for business. Before we changed our parking, we had no parking ordinance whatsoever. So anybody could park anywhere they want. Well, they still can in the public right of way.
That's true.
Whether they're going to the business they're parked in front of, or if they're going to their friend's house 3 blocks up the road. We have no control of the parking. Our parking ordinance now has, basically it's just state standards for parking. You got to be 18 inches from the curb and, those kinds of things. But there's still nothing that says that if you're going to park in front of this business, you have to be conducting business in there with them. So, it just.
I've had this conversation with my wife of course I want Cambridge to look clean and well put together and functional and welcoming. When I walk around town, that's not just confined, the bad examples of that are not just confined to the central business district, but I'm really hesitant about kind of messing with what people can and can't do based off of what I think is acceptable.
Yeah.
One thing, he mentioned dogs, and dogs is always a problem around the city. Well, one thing I'd like to know, the dog issue we've had in the central business district has not got a warning or a ticket like everyone else in town would, because there was a big outcry on that. And, if a dog that's not attended, does that go according to code? No, that's a dog running at large.
It's not running at large when it's sitting right in front of the property that it belongs to. And
Well,
they're right
sometimes it hasn't been.
And I can't issue a warning
I know,
unless
but
I have some proof.
But in our code, it does say that they're supposed to be attended to, and it doesn't mean someone's there attending
But
to it.
it's not on their property either.
Right, it's actually on
It's in the right of way.
And so I've had people wondering, what's the difference?
But it just
Well, I
feels
can
like
tell you my opinion on the difference, but it doesn't matter.
So, anyway, I understand there's a lot of exploratory information you need to find, that we all need to find.
Would it
But
help, sorry to interrupt,
No, go ahead.
would it help you, Hayden, if we had another meeting where we, as council members, were present during an open discussion for the members of the central business district?
I think that's a fine idea. I'm just fearful that if they had the opportunity once, what will make them come forward to express their. I think maybe if you did a survey or something, people would answer honestly, and you could actually poll what they want and let them know, hey, we're going to act off of this. So
Well, that's what we told them about the letters, and we encouraged everyone to get us a letter to give us their opinion.
do you think they, as a collective, made good on that opportunity? Is 4 letters enough for us to start making decisions like that?
But if they have the opportunity and they fail to do it, maybe they don't care what happens. I'm just
And that's a
saying,
valid
I'm
point,
not-
because all of them were given the assignment to write a letter. I personally asked every one of them to write a letter.
Yeah.
Yeah, you don't want to throw your neighbor under the bus, I get it. Write an anonymous letter and have it at City Hall before this meeting tonight.
Yeah.
And they all had the opportunity. So the ones that did, cared. The ones that didn't care. So where do you want to go with that?
I get that, but inaction to me does not mean I act off the limited information I get.
But inaction is a choice. They chose to not act. So then you have to go after the information that you have.
Yeah, I don't think I have enough information is my
Okay,
problem.
well, then that's on you, and you can walk the central business district and talk to every one of them if you want. As a city councilman.
That's fine, that's
You
fine.
can walk the street and say, hey, I want to know what your feelings are about this.
Okay. What
And
are
that's
your, why don't you tell me your feelings about it?
I live in it.
Okay.
I want it to look good.
I do too.
want it to be pleasant. I want my customers to have access. You know. That is this section of town is the key to our town. I mean, businesses up the street, they send their people down here. You know, people from everywhere in town come down here. So how do we want it to look? It's not how I want it to look. And that was the whole point of the meeting, was how do we want it to look? You know?
Yes.
And so it was an opportunity for everybody to say, I would like to see this. I would like to see this. I don't want to see this. Don't want to see that. But nobody was willing to speak for fear that they would offend someone, which it's great to live in a community that we don't want to run around offending people. But at the same time, so do we just, okay, so here's our options. We can just leave it like it is and forget about it and hope it all goes well. Or we can try to put some guidelines in there and try to make sure it goes well.
What I would say is I think maybe we're a little responsible for this because we're allowing people to live there. Is that when these issues start
Well,
taking
yeah,
off?
a little bit like on the parking issue. Well, we've never addressed parking in the city, even though occasionally we have problems, but we've never had that much. But, you know, is it fair to businesses that a tenant park out front and leave, you know, and not allow places for business? Well, we haven't worried about, you know, people living there as much before, you know, but that's not to say we haven't had parking problems other places. We used to have some hay tracks that would park every night in front of people's houses, and we had no ordinance for it, and the people were upset, but we didn't put ordinances because we've tried to, you know, stay away from trying to dictate too much. But I don't know if it's the time we need something more in place or not.
I understand that you feel almost, you can't quite put your opinion on this just yet because there's, you know, not been enough that you feel like you've heard from the central business district. I would just be afraid that if we either give them another opportunity or even appoint some members to kind of come together collectively to kind of give us their feedback, that they're not really going to come back with much, seeing that they didn't really do much the first chance that they had.
I mean, I would encourage you to go talk to the people that didn't send letters.
Okay.
Serious. I'd ask them, how come you didn't send a letter?
Okay.
You know, what's your opinion?
And the other thing you might do is look at other cities' codes on central business district. Everyone's a little bit different in how they do it, but, you know, they control it, you know, signage and, you know, all types of things, you know. And I will tell you here, it's probably been 10, 12 years ago. There was actually more ordinances on it. We got some pushback from people. But then everyone kind of, you know, was kind of treating it how everyone wanted to see it and stuff. And so then there gradually was no problems. But we tried implementing it so that if they were putting things out front or whatever, that it had to be approved type of thing. And there was only one that was even willing to come do that.
I guess I also sometimes don't understand, what the big conflict is, because from a lot of what I read in these letters, pretty much everybody agreed upon what they wanted the business district to look like. Obviously, we want to make sure that it is appeasable to newcomers coming in, accessible. So what they're requesting doesn't seem like it would affect many members all that much by simply making sure RVs or trailers are back behind in the alley, you know, making sure that there's accessible parking. So I guess I don't understand where a lot of the conflict is coming from on these issues.
Well, like in RVs, they're not all behind right now.
Well, exactly. at least 2 businesses that I know that, you know, might have that problem. So I can see where they maybe feel personally targeted in that.
And one of those has a permit, and in the city, in your city code, RVs only can be lived in for 6 months. That was county code too. You know, so that,
But there's nothing against storing your RV on your property though.
no, not storing. And so that's a different thing on storing.
We got a comment out here too, not any of it.
Yeah, when I was selling my business, I've had 2 businesses in town, I sold them. It was someone wanting to turn it into a home. And so I made sure it was kind of, you know, I searched for a person who would buy it, who would have a business. I didn't know if she was able to come to the business.
She did.
She did, good, okay. Because that was, I hate to see our town turn into a downtown full of houses. Instead of having a really hardcore business
Well,
district.
yeah, that's what it is. It's a hardcore business district that happens to have some housing opportunity in it, but the storefronts are all storefronts, not houses in the business district. And the housing is behind or above or underneath or somewhere, but it's not in the front
And it seems
door.
If you're gonna have housing, you do have to have off-street parking. You know, if somebody's driving their car into work and sitting in front, that could be awkward. But if you're gonna have a store or a home, you have to be sure there's different parking arrangements. You know, and there's a room on the alley and you have to level it and do a lot of work. People could park in back. But something like that was a major concern I had when I was selling my business.
Yeah.
That it would not hurt the town.
Well, I'm of the consensus, we have a long way to go on this still. So let's table our conversation until our next meeting when we have a full board sitting here. And we can decide if we want to establish a committee to go after this or what we want to do as a board. In the meantime, I would encourage you to go talk to the people that are not represented at your table right now by letters and ask them what their opinion is.
Okay. Decide too, the precedents, what are the precedents we're setting? Because if one person can do it, then everybody can do it. And so you have to visually look, that's what I do when I look at it. I visually look at the community, well, everybody is doing all these things we're talking about, then what's my community gonna look like?
So is 12 RVs okay?
Or if
What would you like to see? I'm just curious. What do you suppose we do from here? What would you like to see?
Oh, have you seen the front of my store?
Yes.
That's what I'd like to see.
Okay. So, I mean, attacking this issue, what do you want to see? How do we move forward?
I want us as a board to decide what is best for our city. Because you're gonna have conflicting information on your desk in front of you, one way or the other. And as a board, we have to decide what is best for our town, what is best for our citizens. That's our job. We represent the people. We come to this meeting and we vote according to the conscience of the people that we've talked to and how they want their city to be. That's our job.
Yes, I understand that. But I think, yes, also part of my job is not trying to do exactly what I think everything should be like. I have to respect people's freedoms at some point. That's part of my job.
It is.
They have certain freedoms right now, and we're looking at taking some of them away. So I take that kind of seriously too.
And that's why you can vote yes or you can vote no on anything that comes across your desk.
Yeah, and I should talk to those businesses, and I can do that. Okay.
So, and I appreciate your feelings on that, and that's a good way to be. We need to know all the information, not just the information of 4 people. We need to know all the information. Okay? Well, let's move on. Land and Water Conservation Fund Program Tennis Court Agreement with Cambridge School District. Imagine that's Corey, huh? It's not?
No?
I contacted Mr. Butler. I was hoping maybe we had more of an update, but after he had talked to the board and stuff, They've gone out to, because they needed 3 bids, and so they were waiting for 2 more bids to come in on the tennis court area and stuff that they're talking about, filling the cracks and fixing the surface to make it a usable space and stuff, but he doesn't have those bids back yet. So hopefully maybe next month we have more of an update of what's actually gonna be done.
Okay. Everybody's well aware of the tennis court situation, right?
Yes.
Okay. Okay, item 10, approve tentative budget for fiscal year 2027.
I'll let Corey have this one.
Budget?
So, I know I sent it to you in your packets, but I did print out, the notice of budget hearing and the, spreadsheet on the budget, comparisons from last year to this year and stuff, and I thought maybe I'd go through just the highlights of that. So if you wanna get your, sheet that looks like this, and it starts with the general fund. Because all the funds are completely budgeted separately. And one fund's money can't necessarily be used for other funds' money, like water and sewer money or enterprise funds, and they only can be used for water and sewer, type of thing. Can't be moved around. So on the first page on the general fund, well, maybe to start is this year, we've had more things that have got flushed out, probably between having projects done and different types of funding and stuff. So it's probably streamlined more than probably any year I've ever had. So it's a pretty basic budget, and it's a little bit easier to see. There aren't many changes because it's kind of back to the basics. I adjusted fine distribution a little bit according to how things have been coming in. I just, instead of 1,500, I put 1,000 for some reason. Maybe we're giving more warnings out than fines, I don't know. Then on transfers and adjustments, the road revenue and how different things are going in transfers and adjustments, that RB stands for road and bridge. Things are getting shifted around through the state with different formulas and stuff, and so some of that money has gone into other places. So that's about half of what it was last year. Property tax replacement's the same. We increased a little bit for beverage license permits and building permits because we've had a few more going on. I included the senior center community development block grant in the budget. The state highway, you'll see different in the state highway users distribution between all 4 different categories. Some are up, some are down, and that's just because of changes in the distribution methods. The liquor fund is down. It was down last year, and I guess that's a good thing, but anyway, we are getting less revenue from liquor. The distribution is a little bit different on that too. And then also the general fund cash forward balance is down $80,000. That cash forward balance is the balance I predict the bank account to be on September 30th. So that's a really hard thing to try to figure out. But mainly because of our First Street project, the additional things that we've spent money on there is the biggest reason that's down from the previous year. So anyone have any questions on revenues on the general fund?
No.
Okay, as far as expenses on the general fund, I went ahead and kicked engineering up a touch just because most of our engineering has already been done, and so if we do have projects, we'll need to make sure we have some money for engineering. Miscellaneous, you can see, went down, and that's because of the forward cash balance down. I included the senior citizens as far as the expenditure as well as the revenue. And capital projects is down, and that's due to the fund balance being down too. That's all. So your revenues have to equal your expenses. You're required to have a balanced budget. So the bottom line on both of those have to equal each other. And you have to put it somewhere. So do you have any questions on expenditures on the general fund?
We gonna have a big snow year this year?
Yep.
I decreased it by $500. But last year, I think we used like 100.
I know, that was a special year.
But that's why we had some extra money for First Street. So
Yeah.
it's a good and a bad thing when we don't have snow. Okay, the museum budget is the next one. As far as the income donations was changed, they're hoping for some big donations, and I hope they get them. And so that brought the cash forward balance a little bit more as well. But basically, things are pretty close to the same as last year as far as revenue. And as far as expenses, they're trying to get a new software program, so dues and subscriptions is up. And decrease the miscellaneous and put that into the dues and subscriptions. And but capital projects is actually up too. So are there any questions on the museum? And they are hoping someday to be able to get a grant and to do some capital projects, especially because the building is needing a lot of attention right now. There's, I guess, other buildings in Idaho right now that are museums that are worse shape, so we may have to wait on some funding.
Can it follow in that same revenue stream that we found for the senior center? Or is that gotta be totally different money?
It's different money.
Okay.
Okay, on the water fund, the only difference is the 5%. Otherwise, things are pretty close to what they were the previous year, including the cash forward balance. So that's the only changes there. Now, one thing I might mention, both for water and sewer, we have had some meters that have been abandoned. When someone abandons a meter, the meter's actually taken out, and they have to write a letter to acknowledge that they know that in the future, if that's ever reestablished, not only do they have to pay to put a meter back in and the service back in, but they also have to pay reconnection fees for both water and sewer. But one thing is our base rate that we charge and stuff is gonna have less meters paying into the system. So even though we've increased it 5%, we're actually getting behind because the amount that we don't get from those abandoned meters is a lot more than what the 5% is. So probably maybe next year we need to totally reassess what the system is after we get all the abandonments done.
How many abandonments are we talking about?
I've only done 2 since I've been with the city.
But we
I didn't know,
2 more coming, right?
What 2?
I didn't think it was possible to abandon at this stage.
What do you mean at this stage?
Well, I just thought before, I mean, there was a period of time where we allowed that to happen, and then I thought after that, the meters were there and they stayed. Even if they were in just turned to an off status.
Well, they do unless they want to abandon them, and
Yeah,
then
they-
they have to go through the abandonment process.
So that is I mean, it is
Yeah.
a thing then.
But this year we evened out because we abandoned 1 meter, but we installed a new one. So I mean, to me, that's
We just have a
that's
request,
a wash.
but we just had a request.
Yeah, that was the one.
That was the one.
Yeah, we haven't had any other ones, so. And the other one I did was back in 2019. So, and both are on vacant lots. right next to property that somebody owns. Well, one is right next to their house they live in. They have 2 lots, 2 meters, so they abandoned one. Then the other one is really old service, and they chose to abandon it knowing that they would have to, if they ever wanted to build, they would have to pay the connection fees and the cost of installation.
Okay, well,
Yeah, we probably need to sit down and figure, but when you figure out what the base rate, or, you know, what you were receiving on those meters and stuff per month, if you have very many meters, it definitely changes our base. Okay, on expenditures, basically, there weren't any changes. Very slight if there is anything. So does anyone have any questions on those? And you see the restricted fund balance, especially for the new members and stuff. That's money that can be, is required by bonding to be set aside. And that money can't be spent on anything. It has to sit in the account because they don't want anyone to default on bonds. So that's required by law to have a restricted fund balance for your bonds. That's in addition to the regular bond payment that we have. Okay, so for the sewer fund, it's pretty close to last year's. Actually, I increased the cash forward balance by $10,000, but otherwise it's pretty close. And as far as that, the difference in expenditures, the only things that were changed with that $10,000 is capital projects and engineering. And if we have a project go forward, it'll be used in that. So basically, I take all of these numbers and then I put it into the proposed budget that if you guys approve it, that'll go into the paper for the public hearing next month. The beginning of the meeting next month is our budget hearing. And so, and by state statute, you're required to have actuals and prior years budgeted in the proposed. So that's what's on your legal size sheet. And it has to be published in the paper twice.
Well, I make a motion to approve the tentative budget for 2027.
Second.
it's been moved and seconded. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Says he's still here. Levi, you still here? Yeah. Okay. You were just awful quiet. Okay, item 11, ordinance number 5-2026, Cambridge City Code 10-4-3, C, commercial zone, principal use beneath central business district.
Does anybody have questions about this? What we're changing or adding?
This is what you had asked me to have the attorney draw up a few months ago, and then we had kind of tabled it because we were talking about more things in the central business district, but they sent, because that conversation is being extended and stuff, I thought you might like to consider going ahead and getting this taken care of. So this is what the attorney has for an ordinance. But we need to set a public hearing on it. We can't pass the ordinance yet. Because it's land use, it's required to have a public hearing. So we need to set a public hearing.
And this is just basically stating what businesses could be allowed within the central business district, correct?
This is, so this would
Just
allow
basements.
for someone to have an apartment or a dwelling place, not only behind or above, but below as well.
The only changes are the underlying changes in the code, the ordinance, down towards the bottom. Anything that's underlined is addition. If it's struck out, it's taken out, but there's no strikeouts in the ordinance. So it's just adding those words into our ordinance.
Yeah, it's on the first page of the ordinance. The very bottom of that table. On the first page.
So when we first made that ordinance, we'd never even considered it. We didn't realize there was anything available, but there are at least 2 buildings we know of that have basements in them.
My concern was building safety, you know, someone living in the basement. And so
Ingress,
I
egress, all that stuff.
talked to the building inspector about it, and there's not anything, you know, that restricts that, but the ingress and egress, and then having a minimum 1 hour firewall between the top and the bottom if there's a business on top. So that's really the biggest one, is the firewall between the two, which in his wording would be expensive. So, but not to say that it's out of the question, but it would just be a hefty investment to do that. So.
So we could set a hearing date for our next meeting.
We have the budget hearing at 7 and then our meeting, maybe 6:45 if people could, or we
Okay.
could set them both at 7. We usually don't have much discussion, whatever you want to do.
Okay. So this is not an action item, correct?
We just need to set a hearing.
Set a public hearing.
Okay, to set a public hearing.
Yeah.
So I just need a date and time for the public hearing.
Okay.
So August 10th.
Yeah, August 10th at what? You said 6:30, Sandra?
6:45.
6:45?
6:45?
Isn't that okay?
Yeah, works for me.
Okay.
Is that a second?
I second it.
You made the motion, didn't you?
Oh, did I?
I'll second.
It's been moved and seconded, and we have a public hearing on our next meeting, August 10th at 6:45. All in favor?
Aye.
Any opposed? Motion carries. Okay, item 12, city council reports on committee assignments.
So can you go first?
Ask the mayor.
Yes, Hayden.
Well, I'm gonna disappoint because I'm not up to date on commissioner stuff. So if you'd like me to wait till next meeting, I can do so. But
That'd be great.
I don't have good information now.
He has a good excuse, though.
Yeah, he does. He has a really good
So. I
excuse.
don't, because my wife's doing all the hard work.
Taylor?
All right. I wasn't able to attend the last meeting at the museum, but I know that they've been talking about, obviously they've sent out a survey on getting public input on the historic preservation plan. Not quite sure how it went. Have we gotten some back yet? Yes. So I know that they've been working on that, and I think the museum park, is that what we've been discussing about getting the dog station, correct? Or is that just maintaining the park?
Yeah, so we were hoping, we applied for a grant to do an overall on the park, to get rid of the old vegetation and clean
That's
it up.
right.
We did not get that grant, so at the last meeting, we did discuss that, and it was decided that, Idaho Power is going to donate a mini excavator to use to dig all the dirt up off the backside of the museum, and then clean up the other edges. And then there was discussion on, once that's cleaned up, what's gonna happen next. There is a disagreement as to what's going to happen next. So, that's gonna have to be a continued conversation. Some people want rock, and some people want rock and flowers, and some people want greenery and things. So
Yeah.
that's gonna be a continued conversation, and, we'll have to continue to look for grant funding.
Okay.
So that's one of many conversations.
Yes, many conversations.
How do we get Idaho Power just to donate the piece of equipment to the city forever?
Yeah, well, that's.
Just saying.
We're working on it.
Yeah, yeah. I'll hold my breath.
Yeah, please do.
I know there's been a discussion continuous on the brick memorials that go through the museum park, and a granddaughter that had specifically requested a bench being somewhere donated, I think by the city or by the museum, for her grandfather. And I think that's an ongoing discussion that you guys are still having.
So at the last meeting, we decided we did not need another bench,
Yeah.
and we did not need a permanent bench. And so,
Yeah.
we're actually gonna respond to that request and say, no, thank you. We're
Yeah.
not interested.
Yeah.
How about a rope swing instead?
We don't want that either, that's a good liability.
Yeah.
Just thought I'd ask.
I suggested we could have put a brick out there for the grandfather.
Yeah.
If she wanted to pay for a brick,
Well, there
she
you go.
could,
Get a
right?
brick.
And then there's going to be another yearbook event at the museum upcoming too. But
And is that for fair time?
it's August 1st. Yeah. So that's all I have for you guys on that end.
Okay. Economic development, we have had a incredibly difficult time having a quorum for months. We have nice conversations, but they are not official meetings. So at this last meeting we had, a gal from Weezer who came up and she talked about, what's the terminology?
Main Street Weezer?
Main Street Weezer. And other revenue streams that businesses can receive grants. And she spoke specifically of the candy store down in Weezer, and they had received $70,000 in grants for renovations inside their building. So she has a lot of information and can help businesses renovate.
As part of Main Street America.
They have to be part of Main Street America. So, to get the grants. Anyway, so it was very interesting. There's lots of opportunities out there, and it's just finding them. And Sandra and Brandy are excellent at finding opportunities for our city. Okay. Item 13, Cambridge Comprehensive Plans sections on population, property rights, housing, economic development discussion. We're almost done, Levi.
I'll wait till you present it.
Well, hopefully it went through okay, since it's a large document and I had to split it up and things. And so Brandy's done a really good job as far as formatting it into our new format, making it attractive and stuff with the information that we've gathered. And so I don't know if you guys have any questions on the population or property rights section. Brandy mainly worked on population and I worked on property rights.
Was I'm just curious, the population community health profile, is that all, that was all, that CDC stuff there? And,
US Census Bureau too.
yeah. Did you organize the chart and everything?
So I put all of that in charts and then I plug and play with AI so it makes it pretty.
It looks wonderful.
Yeah.
Did a great job.
I think the whole formatting of the document is really wonderful.
Yeah.
I
Looks
think
super
it
good.
makes it so much more user-friendly to,
Yeah, that's what we're striving for.
yeah, I think you guys have done a great job.
Because if it's just all words like previous ones were done, people don't want to read it.
There's pictures and colors. I love it.
It does. It grabs your attention, but you know, I've looked at other ones and this really does feel like it's updated a lot more than what we've had in the previous years.
And property rights, I really took it down quite a bit from what we had previously in property rights, and just went for the main things, and the main things required by the state and by land use laws. And as far as the goals, we tried to make them, you know, so there are goals, but they're not specific that you have to go back and do something each quarter or each year or whatever on. But it can kind of drive your land use decisions. And then the regulatory takings checklist that's required by state statute. And I don't know, did you guys go through any of the introductory stuff, the importance of the comprehensive plan, or how to use the plan, or context, or do you have any comments on any of that?
No.
No.
So how about the economic development section? Did you have a chance to look at that? I sent that separately, I believe.
No, that one I haven't reviewed quite as
Okay.
well.
And so there's quite a few graphics to this one too, which I think tells the story a lot better and stuff.
100% U.S. citizenship. That's what I had.
So there's some interesting takeaways on the economic development stuff when you look at, you know, household incomes and, you know, how the age affects different things. We have a pretty senior community. And even home values, the median home value in Cambridge is higher than that of Washington County, which was surprising.
Mm.
So the median income is lower.
Yeah. Anyway, if you want to take a look at it for the next meeting and stuff, there's one page that I hadn't gone over with Brandy yet either that was thrown in that I wanted to go over with her. Are we on the right track?
Yeah.
Yeah.
That looks good.
I think you
It's
guys
really
have been doing
good.
a great job.
So what percentage of completion are we?
You're on track to just start the next 10-year
Yeah.
plan.
I've got most of the housing information. Brandy has started, I think, formatting it, haven't you? No, not yet. Anyway, we've got some information on housing and stuff, and so we'll work on formatting that too for the next meeting. And I've started a little bit on land use, but that is a great big ball of wax. So.
Meeting with the school district also on July 20th to discuss that section as well. So some time to that.
Yeah, and I did give you some comments, I believe, in your packet, just on one question, what are the biggest barriers to economic growth in the city? So you could have that for the economic development section. And there were some interesting answers, I thought, on that. And our survey ends the 24th or 3rd, 24th. So hopefully next month, we might give you a lot of stuff to read, because I'd like to give you the answers to the questions that were open-ended and stuff, especially every comment that was given by the public.
I think these comments are really, they do give you a really good idea.
Yeah.
So I think that would also be helpful when you are talking about ordinances, to really read through those and see what people are frustrated with.
Yeah.
This particular question, it discusses a lot of ordinances that we're gonna have to at least have conversations about, or
Yeah.
lack of ordinances.
Yeah.
It's amazing that all these answers are just to one question. And it's funny how people are in such different places.
Well, you can see at the top, there were 89 that answered the question and 39 skipped it. Yeah.
Not gonna touch that with a 10-foot pole.
Yeah.
I like number 52 the best.
People attitudes.
Not gonna touch that with a 10-foot pole. Okay. Let's move on to item 14, Association of Idaho Cities 2025 Municipal Utility Survey.
So we've participated in this survey with the Association of Idaho Cities. Corey answered all their questions, and I put it in your packet. Did anyone look at it? It's this great big document. Executive summary, it says on the first page. The 2025 Municipal Utility Survey.
This is as bad as doing the survey itself.
So anyway, I just wanted to bring out a few highlights, if that's okay, Mayor.
Yes, please.
Okay, on the second page, under drinking water, they say the trend of seeing the average drinking water rates decrease as the city's populations increase continued in 2025. So the average drinking water rate decreases as your city's population increases. And so it's pretty typical that smaller cities have higher rates than larger cities. They had over 92% of the respondents increase their drinking water fees since the last utility survey, and that was in 2022. The average drinking water bill for residential customers were highest for smaller cities at about $57, while bills were lower for cities with populations of 15,000 or more by about $26. And on page 4, at the top, it talks about almost 62% of the respondents increased their wastewater fees since the last survey. And the average wastewater bill for residential customers were highest for smaller cities at about $56, while bills were lower for cities with populations of 15,000 or more at about $49. Which, I don't know if you've been following me along both with water and sewer, but ours are higher than those averages. We're a smaller city. But we have less people to pay into the system, so, and we still have the same requirements from EPA and, bigger systems do and things, so it makes it a lot harder when there's less people to pay into the system for all the requirements.
So our system, we're at 60% roughly.
Roughly 65, 60, 65-ish.
So if we had another 40% in our town, we could almost lower water and sewer rates.
No. We would need 120% to lower water rates and sewer rates.
Okay.
Okay, and then when you go to,
What does the front of that look like?
it says executive summary.
Okay.
It should have been a separate file in your,
I don't think I have it.
did anyone else get it?
Growth Idaho H389. Is it House Bill
No,
389?
it's not a House bill.
2025 _ final draft.
Yeah.
Oh, there it is. I got it now.
Okay, and under chapter 1 on page 1, that's at the end of that beginning section. That was 1 through 9, and then it starts over with 1 again on chapter 1. It says the city's utility rates must reflect the cost of operating the specific system and the needs for future expansion and system upgrades. Setting rates based on what other cities charge can be a tragically costly decision. So even though we're curious, there's a reason why we have the rates we have compared to other cities. So they caution you not to just set them on other cities' rates. And then if you go to page 9, under chapter 3, the population 1,000 or less for the average drinking water rate is $68.47.
Below that.
Or 65.
Yeah, so we're a little bit below that. And these were, they listed the lowest billing amount that would include 5,000 gallons, and that's what we do as well.
What do you suppose the difference is? Why we're lower?
Probably because we haven't increased our rates as often as we should have once we, I mean.
Yeah, we have the last few years and stuff, but just like the auditor said, especially with how inflation's been in the last several years and stuff, those years with some bigger inflation, we were getting behind. And there were years that were, you know, not even inflation was kept up with. And so, but we're still, as you will see in the audit, we're still just barely making it. I think we made $2,000 last year in the water. Something like that. Big money. Yeah. Okay, the next page, drinking water rate comparisons with responding cities with less than 1,000. It kind of shows you, like in 2025, what the average was, and then what the low and what the high was. So that there's that 68.47, and the low for cities 1,000 or less was $45, and the high was $174.22.
Tennessee, excuse me.
Yeah, so you might not want to live there
Tennessee is
and use a lot of water.
fixed now, but they're paying for it.
Yeah. But that's one reason I believe it's important to be proactive with your system, because if you wait and have to be reactive, it's really hard. Okay, on page 14, under cities implementing conservation efforts, about how many have a water conservation program or have landscaping rules or policies, and regional efforts to implement water supply aquifer recharge. You can see how smaller cities don't have as many conservation efforts as larger cities have. You know, 8% compared to 83%, or 8% compared to 50%, or 17% compared to 67% for the larger cities. And the next page, top page, talks about challenges relating to small customer base impacted by more of the smaller cities. And so you can see what those numbers are with 1,000 or less. That's what they feel the most challenging issues are. 100% believe small customer base, 100% believe inadequate funding, 92% limited access to additional funding, 67% to inadequate water supply, 92% to system records, 92% to aging or inadequate infrastructure, 75% to lack of inventory or asset management, 83% to regulatory requirements, 75% small pool of governing officials, and 58% on water. And then on page 17 is wastewater rates, and for 1,000 or less, the rate at 56.47, with a standard deviation of $10.31. So we're above that, but not quite up to the full deviation. And then the next page talks about with the cities less than 1,000 on the 2025, the deviation or the average is 56.47, the low is 37.43, and the high is 70. So we're not at the high, but we're still above the average. And the last thing I wanted to bring out was on page 33, towards the back of the survey, probably about 8 pages before the back. On the debt to revenue ratio for cities for drinking water for 1,000 or less, the average annual revenue you can see is $225,772. And the average total debt is $577,877. So the debt to revenue ratio is 2.56. And you can see that that's way higher than when you go into higher populations. Although I was surprised to see that 1,000 to 5,000 was actually the lowest debt ratio. And then it has it below that as far as wastewater.
How does our rate compare?
Our ratio, actually,
Yeah.
let's see, where's my page?
Our average revenue is for water, 150,000, right? I guess that would be all of it together, right? No. What is that number calculated off of?
158.
Okay, so it is just what we bring in from sales.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so 158,258, $158,258 is what our projected revenue is for fiscal year 27.
And the average is 225 for systems under 1,000.
Now I bet if they did systems 1,000 to 500 and then 500 and below, that would change.
Yeah.
But they don't.
Anyway, I thought it had a lot of interesting statistics if you want to look through this utility survey and stuff, because we're going to be talking more about utilities in the future.
Okay.
Projects.
Do anybody have any more questions concerning that?
Well, thanks for providing it.
Okay. Levi, you're in charge of item 15.
I make motion to adjourn.
It's been moved and seconded. All in favor?
All right, aye. Peace out.
Thanks.
Bye.
Motion carries.
What's the second?
I heard his TV turn on in the background, so I'm not sure I'm buying it.
I just want to thank you two for being on my board. Then you speak your mind, participate. You don't just sit there and drool on the table.
I can do that.
No, I don't want you to do that. That's why you're on my board.